Right now, humanity is simply splitting into different timelines, and most of the people don't realize it is already happening. Today, we want to speak about the Earth split and how it's affecting each one of us and how we can evolve into the next level. And then we are going to share about the original template of the divine human and how we can evolve into this design. And because there's a lot of information that we want to share with you, it will take 3 videos. So this is the first one, and there will be more that are coming next. So the first part is the Earth split, and it has already begun. Right now, there are 3 bandwidths. The first one is the all world that is collapsing. This is the third density. And it collapses because the foundations can no longer be sustained because the operational system has changed. And the actual is based in survival consciousness and believing in scarcity. There's division, there's looking for safety in the external reality. And all this is coming to a place of completion because a big cycle is ending. The second bandwidth is the bridge reality, the fourth density. This is where most of the awakened souls are in, and this occurs when there's a deep inner work, there's a dissolution of the all identity structures, there's a healing of ancestral and personal wounds. There's an orientation of the self based in fear and moving into the heart based navigation. And this moment is characterized because there's a lot of intensity, there is grief, and you have outgrown the old self and accessing to a new one that is not yet fully consolidated. This is the most intense process because you have evolved, and at the same time you feel less settled, less certain, less anchored, and this can be disorientating. The third bandwidth is the emerging of the new Earth frequency, which is in the fifth density. And it is already present, and it is already inhabited for a small group of souls that have fully stabilized their perception in a consistent way. And it is characterized because there is coherence, a sense of unity, a sense of being anchored into the frequency of love, and a new perception. And they move from synchronicities instead of from effort. This is where 2% of the spiritual people are fully anchored. It is not the same to have peaks of experience of the 5D reality or the New Earth reality than living in it. To have peaks means that you may have experienced moments of deep peace, moments of enlightenment, moments of great expansion of your heart, but then you return your reality with waving moments of emotional triggers. When you are anchored in the 5D reality or density, it is when you have fully anchored into your presence, you are stable, you are peaceful in your daily life. When you have to pay your bill, when someone says something that is mean, when there's news that triggers some fear, and you stay anchored into your peace, anchored into your presence, and you are able to just face it with absolute understanding, not wavering, and from a place of witness. The ones that are living in the fourth density, they still are wavering from one emotion to another, doing their inner job. And there is no judgment. It is about being completely honest with where you are to then move into the next phase of your own evolution. So the question is, what is specifically either supporting you or preventing your progress? To reach the next level requires inner work consistently. Daily practices of inner work before dawn, when the world is quiet and nobody is watching. There is a deep connection with the divine without agenda. There is a true expression of devotion that allows your heart and allows your pineal gland to activate beyond the surface, to see beyond the linear time and beyond the external perception. To experience the new earth is a frequency match. Those who cannot perceive what lies beyond it, they are not wrong or deficient or spiritually failed. It is because the instrument that allows you to perceive this fifth dimension, which is the pineal gland, is not yet calibrated. The new earth bandwidth is not located in a different physical place. It's not hovering somewhere. It is here and now. And yet it requires that you have the perception activated to be able to see, experienced, and embodied. So there can be two people in the same room having the same conversation, and one experiencing the new reality and the other not. What makes this the difference is the pineal gland. How do you refine your perception? This is not about judgment. This is not about a reward or a punishment. It is a natural process of separation of bands that is occurring within you. It's like having a radio signal that is received clearly by the receivers that has calibrated its frequency. And for example, if you are approaching life from a place of judgment, mechanisms of victimhood, you are experiencing the third density or third reality. If you are approaching life from a place of balance, there may be days in which you still feel some suffering, some triggers that come to the surface, but you approach it from a genuine honesty and humbleness, and you just dissolve the trigger with your awareness. You are living in the fourth density. And if you approach life from a place of unconditional love, stable presence, unity, peace, you are surrendering what is unfolding without expectations, without triggers, without agenda, and you embrace life from a place of joy. You are experiencing the fifth density. So what allows you to experience the fifth density is a frequency match. This is your mirror or of your internal reality. This is not something that you are aspiring to feel or be. It is something that you already inhabit. And this is not about speaking about higher consciousnness, but embodying it. It's how you approach your daily choices. It requires presence and honest approach without agenda. As we said before, there can be two people in the same room experiencing different worlds. They can have the same conversation, inhabiting the same realities, and yet one experience the morning as accumulated uncertainty and exhaustion, while the other is experiencing the life with meaning, with ordinary sacredness. And this is a completely different way of experiencing reality. Another important aspect to understand is that the Earth goes through a processional cycle that takes 26,000 years. And as we go through this cycle, we are reaching the highest photonic light into our galaxy according to the position in the Milky Way. The last time humanity passed through this corridor was during the pre-Atlantean times, where there was another golden age. So, what is the original human template? Well, the original human template was beyond words. It had 12 strands DNA activated, and these were linked corresponding to 12 chakra system within the template. And these allow the human being to have incredible multidimensional capacities, just like telepathy communication as an ordinary way to communicate, access to a multi-dimensional reality simultaneously instead of one, and accessing regenerative biological cycles that aging was not necessary. This is just a small part of this template that were inhabiting the beings. They had a relationship, a direct relationship with source that was not a distant God in which you need to pray to, but it was embodied frequency. And this original divine design was for everybody before Atlantis fell. 90% of the human genome has no identity protein coding function. And the scientific community has named this as a redundant, non-functional evolutionary junk. The junk DNA is dormant library. It is the compressed information of the original 12-strand template. And this is not absent from your biology, not lost, not destroyed. It's just switch off. And now is the time to turn it on again. And it was deactivated at the level of expression while remaining present at the level of structure. Every human being on planet has this architecture ready to be activated once again. The original template is inside of you, and the structure of your own DNA needs the precise conditions for the restoration to happen. And these conditions are these current solar activation sequences that are coming right now. That's why it's so important in this moment of time to purify your vessel, to do your inner work, and to prepare to receive all this incoming cosmic light so that you can fully activate this divine template. So what happened? Why we moved from 12-strand DNA to true-strand DNA? There was a compression event. It was 300,000 years ago, approximately. And there was a genetic mutation in the human species. There was a deliberate intent to restructure the human template that served a specific purpose. And this made that the human body could be inhabited yet manageable, incapable of access the full range of its sovereign intelligence. The restructuring was about deactivating the upper 7 DNA strands associated with multi-dimensional perception, direct source communion, galactic memory, and capacities like telepathy, regeneration. This was disconnected. The 12 energy centers were compressed into the 7 chakras that we know nowadays. The pineal gland, through which the frequencies had received and distributed without and throughout the biology system, was suppressed. The crystalline structure of the pineal gland was altered by the environment conditions, and it was severely compromised. So what remained was a human capable, intelligent, emotionally sophisticated, but the most important faculties were deactivated. And this produced that we couldn't access the perception of our full reality. Over time, there was a new belief system that was created that humans are limited, that the divine is external, and you need to appeal from from a place of unworthiness, that aging and disease is inevitable, and that the inner life is this authority must come from an outside source. And once you start to activate again all these strands of DNA and start to activate these templates, what happens is that there's a process of disorienting aspects, because you start to see signals that have been there all the time, yet your receptor side, which is your pineal gland, because it wasn't activated and your capacities were not activated, you couldn't see them. Even if they were there all the time, you couldn't be able to access to them. And this is because when your consciousness was compressed, you couldn't recognize, even if shown directly, because the system that allows you to recognize it was suppressed. That's why the activation of the dormant DNA strands, particularly those associated with pattern recognition, energetic discernment, and multidimensional sight, produces, when activated, you have this sudden disorienting clarity that comes with awakening, or the sense of seeing through the surface that previously appeared to be solid, or the recognition patterns in the environment that were always present and now they become undeniable. Now I want to speak about Atlantis, because what happened in Atlantis is very important for what is happening right now. There's a link direction of why certain things have changed. So Atlantis was not simply an advanced civilization that became arrogant and destroyed itself with technology beyond its wisdom. Atlantis was the first significant attempt for the civilization to restore the original template. A large portion of the Atlantean civilization had achieved a genuine recovery of aspects of the original 12-strand design. Not full restoration for all the population, but enough for certain peoples to activate their capacities beyond the baseline. The fail occurred because these restored capabilities were used not in service for the evolution of the collective, but in service for one's power. The ability to influence consciousness, to manipulate biological systems of others, to command the energetic forces of the planetary field, were turned towards control instead of towards liberation. And this is the big lesson that must not repeat right now. That's why this time the activation of the DNA is not just a restoration of your individual capacities. It comes with an ethical coherence with it. Until there's this righteousness, these strands of the DNA cannot be activated. That's why it's very important this time. The virtues of the soul must be restored before you access the full awareness of all the 12 strands within you. What is the restoration of the original template of the 12-strand DNA? And this is the most important part to know. So there are 4 groups of strands. The first group is the first, second, and third. The first strand takes all the information from the multidimensional layers and apply into the genetic structure. The second layer is our life lessons, who you are, why you are here, what did you choose to accomplish, and it is linked to the 8th strand, which is the full Akashic record, personal and the human being. The 3rd strand is about ascension and activation. It is what changes other strands and the alchemy of the body to spiritually awaken. The 3rd strand carries enhanced intuition and accelerated emotional clarity. And when this happens, shows you the sign of reactivation. It is sharpening your inner knowing that bypasses the rational analysis. It is an increased ability to sense the emotional truth of a situation before logical mind has assembled its case. Growing difficulty in tolerating a kind of dishonesty that the compressed template could accept as normal. This is not a problem of sensitivity. This is that your biological instrument is beginning to work as it was designed to do. The second group of strands, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th, they carry your essence from this lifetime and all your lifetimes. The 5th and the 6th carry enhanced empathic functions that and also the beginning of the multidimensional side. These produce experiences of seeing beyond the surface of things, the ability to sense the energetic reality beneath the social presentation of another person, the occasional perception of fields and patterns that are not visible to the ordinary sight. A specific knowing about a situation or relationships that arrived not through observation, but through a kind of direct informational access that bypasses ordinary channels. The 6th strand, and this is very important, carries your higher self, the portal to access to your I am presence that allows you to connect to the other side of the veil. The 3rd group of strands, 7th, 8th, and 9, they are the Lemurian strands. They carry what functions as spiritual immune system, a capacity to discern between authentic frequencies and the manipulative ones, between genuine guidance and interference that is dressed with language of guidance. Discernment is necessary, especially right now in the environment that we are living. When it is restored, this is one of the many reasons why it's difficult to find tolerance with certain kind of spiritual content or certain community dynamics or certain kinds of authority. The instrument is being able to read the difference between what is the original template and what is reinforcing the compressed state. The 8th strand carries the master Akashic records from the soul. The 9th strand carries the healing, the capacity for the cellular structure to heal at a quantic level. And this is an incredible power of healing. The 4th group of strands, the 10th, 11, and 12, they are the galactic citizen codes, which helps you to make contact with other civilizations without overwhelming and with having a recognition than coming home. The full restoration of beings is not yet complete, but the path toward them is being cleared. The last trends, the 10th, begins the search for God, the human being. It is linked to the free will, and it cannot do anything unless the human is asking for it. The 11th strand is linked to the divine feminine wisdom. It carries the compassion, the great mother, and it needs to be asked for the human. And the 12th strand is the Almighty God. This is the bringing the life force of the divine into the human vessel. This is the fully embodiment and recognition that you are the divine. What is important is the numerology of all this as well. The first group carries the first, second, and third strands. As when you sum the three of them together, it equals 6. 6, remember, it was your I am presence. The second group carries the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth, equals 15. 15 is 5 plus 1, 6. Again, your I am presence. The third group carries the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, equals 24. 24 is 4 plus 2, 6. Again, the divine presence. So we have the 666, which is the power of your own divinity, not the evil as we have been told. This is your I am within your DNA. And then the last group carries the 10, the 11, and the 12 strands, equals 33. 33 is the Christ consciousness because this is the divine aspect within you. And 3 plus 3 equals 6 again. So this is the mastery of your energy, is the energy of the God Almighty within you embodied into the physical expression, and the recognition within yourself that you are the divine, not outside of you, not to pray to it, but this is who you are. That's why it's so important to fully activate the full template of the divine human. Again, now I want to speak about the number of 144,000 beings, because this is a number that is a symbolic expression of all the star seeds that came on planet Earth to carry this genetic library. When the compression occurred 300,000 years ago, a specific group of souls chose to incarnate carrying the 12-strand template dormant but intact. And the function was to be a seed bank during a period of a threat. The original divine design is held in the biology of these specific individuals across consecutive incarnations that could not be permanently deleted from species as long as it was carried generation after generation in the cellular of the human bodies. These 144,000 beings were not here to lead. They were here to preserve the DNA, to be the living archive of what the human being was designed to be, held in trust through the long centuries of compression, awaiting for the precise cosmic conditions that would make this restoration possible. And the conditions have arrived now. And what is occurring at the dormant strands activate is not only personal, it is radiative. The template that carried in the biology of these members begins to broadcast out to the collective field the frequency of the original design. And those within the range, whose biology carries compatible architecture, begin to receive this activation because of the resonance. That's why the number of souls genuinely engaging with the restoration process is increasing, accelerating in a way that it's spreading like a frequency, because this is what is occurring right now. The earth split is not a decision that is made from the outside, imposed by the divine. It is something inevitable because there's a biological restoration within the DNA strands of a certain number of beings, and then it is activated in the collective field. when the perceptual difference between those whom the restoration is occurring and the ones that have not yet become, that creates a split in the reality. And the once they inhabited together the same reality, they start to diverge. But they diverge because their DNA starts to activate different access. And that's why the reality starts to split, because some of them activate their DNA, some of them they have inactive. They start to inhabit different realities. And this is like having the two radio receivers, that one is calibrated to certain frequencies and the other one cannot receive these frequencies. This is not a judgment. This is simply biology. So the beings whose biology restoration has not yet begun, they are not behind. They are in an earlier process. And the soul will eventually complete in this lifetime, or maybe the next, or maybe the one after the next. So every soul has its own timing. Yet what this current solar corridor represents in the specific cosmic window during which the restoration can proceed is an accelerated rate that would not be able without it. That's why we are in the precise moments for this activation to occur. These are the galactic conditions that make possible in a single generation something that would take otherwise several generations. Many souls chose to incarnate at this moment to complete in one lifetime a restoration of the entire lineage, moving towards for many incarnations. That's why there's a sense of urgency that so many of us carry. The feeling that this lifetime is particularly different and significant. That's why it feels like a culmination, and this is not spiritual evil. This is a cellular memory of an extraordinary long journey, arriving finally at the conditions that makes it possible to complete. And we are here, ready for the completion. The next video, we are going to speak more about the pineal gland and how to activate this divine template. So stay tuned for the following video and receive the full information of this incredible process that we are right now. Until the next moment, namaste.